Made possible through support from ARC Thrift Stores, Developmental Pathways, Dungarvan, and the Arc of Aurora.
A THINK+change training.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another installment of a THINK+change pod vodcast. We're thrilled you're here. Today, we're going to be, by the way, I am Petrie. I am an advocate here at the Arc of Aurora, in case you have not met me yet. Today, we're going to be talking about digital equity. And I have a very learned gentleman here with me today, Gabriel Gates. I don't know much at all about digital equity. So, Gabe, I'm really thrilled you're here. I'm excited to go on this journey with you and kind of hear your expertise as you walk us through what all of this means. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Share with us a little bit, Gabe, who you are, what you do. I know you wear many hats. And then what has kind of rooted you in digital equity.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to join you today in the Arc of Aurora. I really want to take a moment just to commend the work that you guys do in advocating for the disability community, specifically, and individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this whole new series that you're doing with THINK+change, I think it's a really great opportunity to advocate for the disability community and just share different resources and tools. But yeah, as you said, I do wear many hats.
Yes, you do.
We'll start with my name, so you can call me Gabe. I am an individual with a vision disability, and I currently work at Front Range Community College as an academic coordinator for disability support services.
Oh, cool.
That's my primary job. That's what I do 40 hours a week, day in and day out, just ensuring that our students who register for classes and enroll at the college have accommodations for their classroom, for testing, whatever they need.
Mm-hmm.
But I also enjoy collaborating with other organizations, whether it be state or local, on doing whatever I can to uplift and encourage the disability community. That means I'm currently working and partnering with the Colorado Governor's Office of Information Technology on some digital equity projects. Also just completed, and I had the honor to serve as a chair to a House bill here in Colorado, House Bill 22-1255, to provide recommendations to the Colorado General Assembly on how to improve outcomes for students with disabilities in higher education.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing that, because we work with kids in special ed all the time, and that's super, super important. So we appreciate your lived experience and feedback on that for sure. So, Gabe, share with us a little bit, just maybe even a definition or an overview, really, of what digital equity is for those of us who aren't really familiar with that term.
So digital equity would be something like along the lines of being able to engage with digital content at the same time, at the same mode, and with the same access as anybody else would have. It's separate from digital accessibility in that it's more widespread, it's more equitable.
Right.
That's the whole equity behind it, but it allows a variety of people from a variety of cultures and backgrounds to be able to access and engage with the services, resources, and tools that are offered in digital content. Well, equity just takes it a step further and goes beyond the minimal requirements, those kind of minimal standards of digital accessibility, and makes sure that it's more robust and just more user friendly and a more equitable experience for everybody, not just individuals with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Can you give some examples of what that might look like?
So, an example would be going to a website, visiting a website, and the content on that website, the equity portion of it would be that the content has resources and tools that are already built into it where an individual with a disability wouldn't need additional
Okay.
devices or tools to access that content. That would be the accessibility part. That would be digital accessibility, where an individual with a disability would need some type of tool, some type of device to access that content. It'd be specific and exclusive. That tool would be exclusive to that person in order to be able to access and engage with that content.
And that's what creates the equity then, that
Yes.
specific tool.
Yeah, equity, it's different than equality.
Yeah.
Equity is more like providing a specific item or resource to somebody in order to access something, where you would think of it as like a box, someone needing a box to access, say, like an upper cabinet, in a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
You can give everybody a box, but that would be different for someone who might be shorter or taller than someone. So you would actually need to provide a taller box, or someone may not need as tall of a box, because the equal would be the same box.
Mm-hmm.
Equity would be a box that meets that individual's needs.
Yeah. We talk about equity versus equality in our work all the time, and it is a very specific distinction. So thank you for sharing that a little bit more with that. Chat with us a little bit, Gabe, about barriers that exist that are out there for people facing digital equity.
So as a disability services professional, I encounter barriers through the students I work with,
Mm-hmm.
Practically day-to-day basis, as well as personally in my life, my lived experiences. I'm also a college student with a vision disability, working on trying to finish up my doctorate degree in leadership for education equity. And, through my entire time in higher education, I've experienced barriers waiting to receive an accessible copy of a textbook, a digital copy, waiting to receive uh, a digital copy of an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That wait isn't equitable, because the other students, my peers, my counterparts, they get that textbook, that assignment in real time.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it's provided, I usually have to wait, days, if not weeks, to receive a copy of that same textbook or assignment, so that it's provided in an accessible format. And, that's just one of the unfortunate situations that I've had to deal with throughout my entire time in higher education. And even now, in my personal life, at my home life, I'm fearful, and my anxiety spikes when I think about going online and completing things like medical forms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be accessible. I don't know how much time I'm going to need to complete it. I don't know if I'm going to need assistance. My wife can access the same type of medical form and complete it in maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. It takes me probably 3 or 4 times as long. And that's only if the form is accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you find that, the students that you're serving now in higher education are accessing, digital supports more readily than maybe when you first started in the higher education field?
Yeah, the need for an accommodation or some type of auxiliary aid that supports students with disabilities to access digital content has always been around.
Mhm.
Technology is always evolving, so we always have to try to stay on top of what type of new tools or devices and resources that students can use to engage and access the digital content and that material. uh, it's gotten better. Uh, People have really worked on creating a more robust digital content so that it can be accessed with different types of technology. So it's
Mhm.
definitely improved, but there's still barriers. There's still the equity piece of it that's missing, going beyond those minimal requirements of reasonable accommodations to ensure that the students that walk into my office can leave knowing that they have equal access and equitable access to the learning material in their classes.
Well, you mentioned technology. Is there any promising or emerging technology out there that you're seeing that is going to make this, even bigger and more robust down the line?
Everything right now has to do with AI.
Yeah, it is the buzzword
Yeah,
of the day, isn't it?
yeah, everything, and it's really making a difference in accessibility, but it's so new, and just the concepts of AI and how to leverage that technology to do uh, education, to do employment, to do home life. It's still kind of really abstract and how we can use AI to assist and replace maybe either accommodations or what that may look like in supporting accommodation. So it's hard to tell. Uh, for instance, in one case in my personal life, I've used AI when I want to go out to a restaurant and I don't know their menu.
Hmm.
I go, maybe they don't have an accessible menu, maybe they don't have it on rail. A lot of restaurants do provide their menus online these days,
Hmm.
but I've leveraged AI and using prompts for to for it to create a menu that I'm interested in. Like,
Oh,
tell me about foods that you have that are gluten free,
yeah.
or tell me only the desserts, something like that. And you can leverage AI to do that, and it provides a more equitable experience on reading just a menu. So, I've been able to figure that out, how to actually use it in my own education
Hmm.
endeavors. I'm still trying to learn how to do that.
Yeah, interesting. Huh. So, talk to us a little bit, Gabe, about the role that government policies play in promoting digital equity and accessibility, because you also have, that policy piece as one of the hats that you wear.
The federal government have done really good with providing disability rights and, starting with the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, and, the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. It made really great strides toward providing accessibility and equity. That it's the foundation of what we build. And I mentioned it before. We want to go on beyond those minimal requirements that
Hmm.
are provided through law and regulation and policies. And Colorado has really stepped up its efforts on being committed to accessibility and for all uh, Coloradians with disabilities. Uh, the House Bill 211110. I didn't work on that, but that's our digital accessibility bill that just went into effect this past July, that has lots of regulations and policies to ensure that digital content is accessible for all state organizations. And that's a leader
Mm-hmm.
in all states in the United States. And the federal government has also passed uh, a Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act for digital accessibility. But the Colorado bill has, I would say, in my opinion, stronger regulations and policies than that of the federal law. So Colorado has some more stringent policies that go beyond what the federal government provided through their bill. And I really need to commend Governor Jared Polis for his commitment to accessibility. It's really because of him and signing these kind of bills that provide greater and better accessibility that goes beyond minimum requirements.
When you do this kind of work, it is really rewarding to be in a state that takes it seriously and is a leader, among other states. So it's exciting to hear that, Colorado is on the forefront and hopefully can provide a roadmap for other states, going forward,
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
everywhere I go, when I'm meeting with other disability services professionals, other people who do this kind of work, that's the first thing they talk about is what Colorado's doing and just how we're just leading the way. It's just it's rewarding, like you said.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. I love that. Well, so as awareness around digital equity and accessibility grows, because this is now becoming, um, a person's work, your work. It's a growing momentum that's needed. How can businesses ensure that their digital footprint and their services are equitable and accessible?
Great question. Because, yeah, the House bill is only for state organizations.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only ones that have to follow these regulations and policies. It doesn't go to private uh, organizations, companies, and those things. So, to answer that question, it's about getting to know your people that you work with in that company. You know, I would say probably the best effort for a private organization to try to understand how they can enhance their digital experience, their digital footprint, would be to look at their employees with disabilities and give them an opportunity to come to the table
Mm-hmm.
and talk and share their experiences with them. Even going as far as, and a lot of private companies are doing this now, is hiring an accessibility officer. You hear lots of companies hiring diversity officers and those types of positions, while an accessibility officer would look into those aspects that go to individuals with disabilities. You know, and although the House bill uh, applies to state organizations, Colorado is still doing a lot to provide resources, accessibility resources, and services to the whole state,
Mm-hmm.
to everybody, so that anybody can access this information and trying to figure out how to enhance and improve their digital footprint. For example, I just worked on a project with the Office of Information Technology to create a digital workshop that kind of shows a lot about digital equity and inclusion and entails a series of exercises that anybody can go on to the website and access and just look and see what it's like to access inaccessible documents or forms and what you can do to make those forms more accessible, what it's like to access inaccessible websites and what you can do to make those websites more accessible. Those are just a few exercises. There's, I don't know, I think about a dozen or so that are on there, and we just finished creating those exercises.
Huh, that's really interesting. Yeah, because even for businesses who maybe don't necessarily have people with disabilities, you would think that it is an incentive because the more accessible they are to the broader population, to include people with disabilities, you know, that's more visibility for their business. So, I mean, everything always has to start somewhere, right? But
Yeah.
it's nice to, think about having people in businesses who have disabilities being on the forefront of saying, this is how you make these changes and this is how you make the business more accessible. And it can then just trickle down from there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, looking into the future, Gabe, if you were looking into your crystal ball, what opportunities do you see um, on the forefront that are emerging for advancing digital equity for people with disabilities?
I would say just more involvement, more engagement, and that's to just understand, different cultures and different backgrounds of everybody that works in a company that you meet in a classroom.
Hmm.
The opportunities are there's no limit. There's no limit to the opportunities, and it just provides more equity to individuals with disabilities and giving them, opportunities, like I mentioned before, to come to the table and share their experiences and being recognized where they're at and meeting and the company meeting their employees where they're at, the college meeting the students where they're at, whatever sector it may be, it's uplifting the voices of these individuals so that we recognize if that individual has certain needs that are not being met, what they can do to improve their processes and policies or regulations on that part, and just to actually have genuine engagement with talking to somebody and understanding who they are and what an organization can do to better meet the needs of that person, elevating opportunities, like I mentioned, to, open up a position like an
Hmm.
accessibility officer for people to go to and share their ideas with and make those improvements so that not only the accessibility, but the accommodation process for ensuring that these people can have equal access, individuals with disabilities can have equal access to that company's organizations, services, and activities.
Yeah. If you ruled the world for one day, Gabe, what would you like to see or what would you enact to really broaden equity and accessibility in this format?
Wow, that's a powerful question. um, I'd just like to see more of this, more of these types of conversation, of experiences with people with a wide variety of backgrounds, people just who may not be working uh, in education or have any type of vocation, but just somebody who may find it difficult to find a job because of their disability. What are they experiencing? What can we do to support that uh, population?
Mm-hmm.
Even going as far as to, understanding homelessness and those different intersectionalities, right? And homeless people may have a disability, and just understanding the age differences, all these different
Mm-hmm.
intersectionalities, and just broadening out and understanding all these different situations so we can get a better understanding of, I guess, a more comprehensive understanding of what these experiences are of just different people from different backgrounds and different cultures, different ethnicities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Is there anything else on this subject that you would like to share that I haven't asked or touched on? Anything else you think is important for us to know?
You know, I really need to recognize the disability community and those who are advocates and allies for the disability community, and just the resiliency that these organizations, these individuals, and the efforts that they've endured and made to continue to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities, to improve their experiences. They're fighting for disability rights. And that's one thing, is it's a consistent fight.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it never stops. Even if we feel like we get close to getting an answer, a solution, fixing a problem, we still can't stop, because then everything evolves so quick.
Mm-hmm.
The needs and that disability community can easily be forgotten,
Mm-hmm.
left behind at the least. So it's a continuous fight. These people, these organizations, advocates like the Arc of Aurora need to continue to, what I say, it's my threefold ministry, and it's to engage, equip, and empower. We really need to engage a variety of people who support the disability community, the advocates and allies. We need to equip them with the knowledge and tools that they need so that they can go on and empower themselves and empower the disability community and keep on working on disability rights, disability inclusion, accessibility, and equity.
Well, you certainly embody all of those things, Gabe, and we certainly appreciate all of the work that you do to keep this moving forward and creating awareness and equity and accessibility, not only in the digital world, but on campuses and through your work with legislation, which is, very important to us too. So we thank you for all that you do and your expertise here today. I know I learned a ton from you through this conversation. So I thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you again. It's my pleasure and an honor to be here with you today.
Well, thank you all again for joining Gabe and me in this conversation. There will be more pod vodcasts to come, so stay tuned. In the meantime, take care.